What's going on, everybody? You got Tone here, the coach of your Maine Red Clawitzers, and I am here bringing you guys my MPL Season 6 Week 2 battle, where we'll be taking on Melontosh, coach of the Exeter Chief Electivires. So if you guys did miss my team builder, it will be in the link in the description down below, the first line of the description. Be sure to check that out, so I go into detail about the sets, why I'm bringing what we're bringing. But for more of a condensed version for this team, I am bringing a Assault Vest Raikou. I have a mixed defensive, but mostly physically defensive Arcanine. I have a Autotomized Steelium Z Celesteela. I have a Choice Scarf Hydreigon, a physically defensive with some special defense investment on my Swampert, and a mixed defensive Mega Venusaur with Roar knockoff, Sludge Bomb and Synthesis. And as you can see, my opponent Melontosh has decided to bring the Excelgor, the Kyur-Em Black, the Jirachi, the Salazzle, the Suicune, and the Hitmontop. So more or less what I expected. I understand his thought process, not bringing Mega Diancie. Obviously, you could have a Celesteela. Gonna be difficult to break through. I felt as though he could have still tried to bring it because he has that Kyur-Em Black to check it. But nonetheless, he brought what he brought for a reason, so I'm not going to question that. So looking at potential lead matchups, I figured I'd try to take advantage of the situation and lead off with my Raikou. Because of the fact that he did not bring the Mudsdale, I can just freely go for a Thunderbolt or Volt Switch on his entire team and things would be hunky-dory. And because of the fact that he didn't bring Mudsdale, his Stealth Rocker would have to be the Jirachi, so more likely than not, this is going to be a sort of defensive Jirachi with Stealth Rock, considering nothing else on his team gets access to Stealth Rock that he brought. So we're going to start the battle here and see how we do for week number 2 of the MPL. So we're going to be challenged by Melontosh. Have fun, my friend. So I'm going to lead off with my Raikou, as I said, and he is going to lead off with the Excelgor here. So I figured I'd fire up a free Thunderbolt here. But he's going to catch me turn 1 here, and he's going to go straight for the final Gambit. And I'm like, ah, man. And down goes my Raikou, turn 1. So the exchange worked out for him. He traded his Excelgor for my Raikou, and there goes one of my checks to his Suicune. But this does allow me to get a switch into my Hydreigon. He goes out into his Jirachi here. So here I am going to go for the U-turn as he decides to stay in. And I figured I'd take the opportunity to go out into my Arcanine here to get the Intimidate off, as I believe he is going to go for his Stealth Rock this turn. So I get the Intimidate off, and he does go for the Stealth Rock here, so they're for the rest of the game on my end. So from here, I believe I am going to go for a Toxic here, predicting him to go into the Suicune, as he does not want the thing to take a Flare Blitz in the face. And in comes the Suicune, as I am indeed going to get the Toxic off on the Arcanine, and we are going to connect on the incoming Suicune. So we have this thing on a timer here. I still don't know if he's a Crocoon set or whatever the case may be. So at this point here, I'm going to go and switch out into my Hydreigon, predicting him to go into Jirachi, expecting me to go into Mega Venusaur. So I pretty much called his double switch, and I got the switch correct in this part. So that is solid for me. He's going to go for get the leftover recovery here for the Jirachi here, and I believe this point I'm going to go for, I think I go for a U-turn here to go out into his Hitmontop to take the Dark Pulse or Dragon move from my Hydreigon. I'm going to go for the Dark Pulse. Okay, so I go for Dark Pulse this turn because I figured he had no real switch-ins, but the way that Hitmontop took that Dark Pulse is looking like it's either a specially defensive Hitmontop or a AV Hitmontop here. So I'm going to switch on my Venusaur. He's going to go back into his Jirachi here. Pretty much putting me behind the 8 ball now because he has all the momentum in his favor now, which forced me to go into my Arcanine this turn, get the Intimidate off, and try to keep this thing in check with the Intimidate and my Arcanine. So he's going to go for the U-turn here, expect me to go into my Arcanine here. So he's going to take that chip damage from the Rocky Helmet, which is all well and good. And I believe here he's going to go out into his Suicune again. Yeah, he goes back into his Suicune. to get the leftover recovery on the Suicune, and then from here he's going to fire off a Scald, if I recall correctly here. So I'm kind of playing this game kind of weird. I'm not trying to make the obvious switch in here, so I'm gonna go into my Hydreigon again, expecting him to go for the Jirachi switch in again, but he just goes straight up for the Scald here. Not trying to make any more predictions. You get a crit there, which is kind of unfortunate, but not really something that matters too much in the grand scheme of things. Now here, I'm going to go for the U-turn, expecting him to go out into his Hydreigon again, which he does do on this turn. As a Hitmontop does come in, I'm going to fire off the U-turn here, get some small residual damage off on this Hitmontop, and I believe I go back into my Venusaur here, and just to fire off the Mega Evolution, and I'm going to Mega Evolve here. I'm going to click Knockoff here, as he's going to withdraw Hitmontop and go directly out into his Kyurem Black. Now, under normal circumstances, I probably would have clicked Sludge Bomb here, but I clicked Knockoff just on the off chance he did decide to go out into his Jirachi. So I'm going to Mega Evolve here, I'm going to go for the Knockoff, and as you're going to see, no item was removed, so this is definitely a Z Kyurem Black here. So I'm forced to make the tough decision of sacking off my Hydreigon here. I want to take the Self Rock damage, and he's going to reveal the Substitute. So, not looking good so far, so now I definitely have to stay in here, go for the Dark Pulse, break this thing sub, and he is just going to, we're going to break the sub here, but he's going to be able to go for the Ice Beam for free, and we're going to lose our Hydreigon here. So not a really good exchange in that part, so losing my Hydreigon at that point. So now this is going to be a free switch into my Swampert here, my Kyurem Black response. I'm going to go for the low kick here. I think he's going to fire off another Ice Beam here. We're going to eat up the Ice Beam hit, but we get frozen. This is probably like the worst timing in the world to get frozen of all times, because I don't get damage off when it's Kyurem. I'm banking on me falling out at some point here. He goes for the Ice Beam, but I get frozen again, and at this point I have to try to thaw out at some point. I don't have Scald, and he takes advantage of the situation, goes for the Substitute here as I remain frozen. So of all the weeks, all the times I don't put Scald on Swampert, and it's pretty much coming back to bite me right now, as he's going to go for the get spawned Substitute, fire off another Ice Beam here. I want to at least try to break this thing sub, but he gets a crit on top of that. So that is essentially going to be the game, because as you're going to see, I'm going to go into my Mega Venusaur. I am going to try to go for a Sludge Bomb here. He's just going to fire off an Ice Beam, and he's going to essentially just take out my Mega Venusaur outright with the Ice Beam. So this Kyurem Black actually ends up running for the rest of my team, because I'm going to go now to my Arcanine. The Intimidate doesn't matter. I could have went for Extreme Speed, hope that he was like a minus defense nature to break the Substitute, but he reveals he has the Yours Power. I felt like it was kind of a waste to try to go for Extreme Speed, because I did the calcs, and if he wasn't a minus defense nature, it wouldn't have broke the sub anyway, so there was no point. My last Pokemon is Celesteela, just going to fire off a Flash Cannon, and he is going to reveal the Electrium Z on the Kyurem Black. So yeah, this was a pretty rough game, not going to lie, as he is going to show off the Z Gigabolt Havoc from the Fusion Bolt, and he is just going to blow back my Celesteela, putting the caveat on top for this matchup. So we are going to go down 5-0 to the Exeter Chief Electivires in a very, very harsh game nonetheless. But of course there were some other factors in that game that did play a part in how this game turned out. Turn 1 Final Gambit on the Accelerator was a great prep by my opponent. Obviously the freeze was the most crucial factor of the result of the game, because I would have been able to get off damage on the Kyurem Black. But of course, when RNG plays a factor into games like this, it's obviously going to throw you off, because you're not going into a game expecting to get a 10% freeze chance and then stay frozen. So all you can just do is laugh it off and move on, man. I'm not upset about the hacks. There's really nothing you can do when something like that happens in the game. And this is nothing against my opponent. He just took advantage of the situation and went for the substitute to ensure he put himself in the best position to win the game, and sure enough, he did just that. Kyur-Em Black picking up 5 kills in this game. So yeah, that's pretty much going to be it. I felt as though I built an adequately solid team for this matchup. I felt like I made some proper double switches. I felt like I was doing the prediction game pretty well at the beginning, but when push came to shove, there are just some things that don't go your way, but can't let one bad loss throw you off your game. So just gotta pick up the pieces and move on from there. So we dropped to 1-1 with a -1 differential now, so they gotta move on. Next week we are going to be taking on Choice CJ, coach of the Baltimore Orioles, in what promises to be another fun matchup. But nonetheless, guys, if you guys did enjoy, leave a like. Check out Melontosh's side of the battle. Check out all the coaches in the MPL. Subscribe to them if you haven't done so already. And that's going to be it from me, guys. Until the next time, guys, this is Tone, signing off for now. Peace out.